want to ask you about the important regulation rollback. I read your op-ed last night about the laws that were just stifling business. I want to ask you that, as well as taxes. What's most important in terms of moving the needle on growth? What specific taxes do you think is actually going to get economic growth going, and what specific regulations that you will roll back will actually unleash business?
Well, the first thing that, when I say for regulations, business has to think that government's not going to continue to impose upon them. So we put at the very beginning of this year what is called the REINS Act, which means no major ruling can be enacted. A major ruling is a new regulation that costs more than $100 million without a vote of Congress. And you wonder, well, how many of those happen? Well, there were 82 every year for the last 5 years imposed upon business. So that means you at least get some breathing room, or the people would actually have the power. So you would restructure how it would come about you. Now we're able to look at, from a Congressional Review Act, looking at from the last 60 legislative days what has gone through. Well, they have a stream buffer rule that we just removed from the House last week, which would have taken 64% of all the reserves for the coal industry, which would have taken away 40,000 to 70,000 jobs in America, which we never would have became energy independent. But think of those areas that have been wiped out with the Obama administration, from West Virginia to Ohio.
Yeah.
Those areas that never had voted Republican before but simply switched because of the economic regulation that had been imposed upon them. So you're watching the stock market go up with the idea that government's going to be different, not imposing so much upon business when it comes from regulation, that they're going to have a voice. There's going to be some common sense. Now, with tax reform, I think it's got to be an overall tax reform, that it's going to be an individual that you're going to see something that you can be competitive, a competitive tax plan that's going to be pro-growth. So you're going to have a competitive corporate rate, but at the same time, when you're looking at the S and the C corps, that they're going to be able to expense, that it's going to be fair and simple, that you can have it on a postcard.
Let me ask you about the Obamacare continuing the dismantle conversation, because there seems to be a growing divide among the GOP about what comes after this repeal. Over the weekend, Congressman Tom Micklenstock, also a Republican from California, had to be escorted by police after a town hall meeting after facing backlash over the administration's plan to repeal Obamacare without a replacement in place. So what are you're hearing from constituents affecting progress on making changes? I mean, how do you get past that?
Well, what we're seeing out there is the organization, and mainly it's a political organization, and you can go onto the website. It's I think it's Invisible, or it's a Democrat organization that's trying to go in and intimidate individuals not to have any repeal of Obamacare. And the way I look at it, if we did nothing, this would collapse upon itself. Because if you look at the simple facts, 23 co-ops were created under Obamacare, given more than $2 billion. 18 of them have already collapsed.
Right.
There's roughly 3,000 counties in America. Well, there's 1,022 counties that only have one insurance plan now. So it's collapsing upon itself. So we have to transform this, and we're going to be able to do it. Watch this month, and you're going to see it start moving.
Congressman, I know you have a lot on your plate. I know our viewers are hoping you get it all done. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
We will keep our promise.